are going to do some pelvic tilting now in a different position, and we are going to come into 4-point kneeling. So you're going to start off in kneeling and then walk your hands forwards. You want to have your hands directly underneath your shoulders. So if you just bring your hands back to where my hand is there, that's great. And then just bring your weight forwards onto those wrists. Now, sometimes the wrists can be a bit uncomfortable in this position. So what I want you to do is splay your fingers out and try and push through the front of that palm rather than back onto the wrist. Excellent. Now, if you're feeling that your wrists are too uncomfortable, do take a break and give your wrists a little bit of a movement. Just wiggle them around, circle them around, and that usually brings that blood flow back. You do have to work through into that floor with your palm to avoid that wrist from getting uncomfortable. But it does take a little bit of effort. Now, in this position, we're going to be imagining that you've got a glass of water resting onto your back. If you just bring your knee out to the side here, that's perfect. So you also want your knees directly underneath your hips and your feet nice and relaxed, wherever they feel comfortable. So we've got this glass of water now, and it's full to the brim, resting onto the tailbone. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off by increasing the arch of the back and tipping the water onto the back. So you've got that glass of water and you're tipping the water onto the forwards there. So try and keep your elbows straight. That's excellent. Okay, and then we're bringing that glass of water back to level, and then we're dripping the water onto the tailbone. Good. Try and keep your weight forwards over those hands. That's great. And tuck that tail in underneath you. Brilliant. So that water has now gone off onto the floor, and then you're coming back to parallel. So that glass of water then is resting nice and straight. And in that position, your pelvis is now in a neutral position. So you can imagine there that you've got a glass of water resting onto your back, and you should find then that you're working a little bit through your core to keep that position there. Now, in that position, you can work onto your shoulders, and you're just thinking about drawing those shoulder blades underneath your bra strap. Excellent. Now, don't lose that glass of water, so slight tuck in through the pelvis and draw those shoulder blades together. And again, we're talking about that connection between the upper part of your body and your pelvis. When you're doing that lying on your back, it can feel a little bit alien, and it can surely feel very alien to you in this position. But it's worth persevering with it. So in this position here, you're just thinking of your glass of water resting onto your back, and then your shoulder blades pulling underneath your bra strap. Good. You should have a little bit of connection through that tummy, just gently pulling the belly button up towards the spine without moving the spine too much. And that would be a really good neutral position. But then if we try and release that, think of your glass of water and then pouring the water onto your lower back, arching the back. That's it. Good. And just going as far as you feel able to. And then coming back to neutral. Good. And then tucking the tail in underneath you and pouring that water onto the floor behind your tailbone. Good. And then back again. Good. Keep that glass neutral. And it's really, really important that you think of the glass on your pelvic bone, on this tailbone here. If you think of the glass up here on your shoulder blades, if I pop my hands in between your shoulder blades here, imagine that glass of water now tipping onto your spine. And then back. Can you see how the movement changes? Okay. And then if you imagine tipping the water onto your neck. Okay, so the movement starts to become around where the glass is, but we're all about trying to get the pelvis and the lower back moving. So you don't want to feel that your glass is up here in between your shoulder blades. You want to feel that your glass is down here on your tailbone. And that will really help you in terms of positioning and in terms of getting the movement where you need it to go. Okay, so think about that glass resting on your tailbone. Then once you've finished, sitting back onto your heels. That's great. And you might need to just roll those fingers around, wiggle your fingers and your wrists just to bring that blood flow back in, especially if they're feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe even give them a little bit of a rub, and that should help you. It does take a little bit of practice, and especially if you're feeling a little bit weak through the wrists and through the hands, it may well be that you need to do maybe 30 seconds to a minute in the position, and then coming back out, give yourself a breather, and then going back into that position again. And as eventually, over time, you'll be able to build up the amount of time you can be in that 4-point kneeling position. But give it a go and see how you get on.